This is the Nightshade Cult, a podcast macabre.
We bid you welcome. Enter freely and of your own will.
I'm Nick Grimm.
And I'm David Graves.
And we will be your horror hosts for this dissection of Sean S Cunningham's 1980s campfire slasher horror film, Friday the 13th.
Good evening. This was a ride. I'd never seen this before.
So I had seen it once, probably as a tween, middle school age, and I remembered that the iconography was not there yet. There's no Jason in a hockey mask, but I actually had completely forgotten the twist that it was the mom. Because I think later in the series, the mom's head sticks around as sort of a totem for Jason going forward. And so I kind of remembered that and sort of transposed them. I still thought that this movie was going to have Jason in it.
I mean, it did in the last scene.
Yeah, he does show up in the last scene, which is a source of the copyright controversy about this movie. We can maybe get into it in a little bit. But,
all right.
Jason just shows up in the last scene. No hockey mask, no coveralls.
He's just a bog zombie.
He's a bog zombie, and crucially, like a kid, and not a big Hulk.
Yeah, for sure. So this movie was crazy because it was filmed for like $550,000, but it grossed $59.8 million. That is a success.
It's a hell of a profit. I'm baffled by this movie. Honestly, it's
a classic. Everyone refers to this series, this franchise.
Yeah,
but I'm not even sure this is the best Friday the 13th movie.
No, I don't think so. I can't imagine it is, because I don't think it's even a good movie.
Yeah.
I was really constantly baffled that this sort of video nasty has spawned a multi-decade franchise. Yeah,
so, I mean, I was going to try to bury the lead and not really get into my opinions on this thing for a while, but ultimately, it's like, it starts off like Psycho.
Yeah.
You're following a woman, a young lady, and she's going to camp, and you're like kind of invested in her story. She gets picked up by some weird hitchhiker. She encounters like a weird, crazy guy, and I'm into this lady's story.
We did have a prologue. Yeah. The 1959 camp.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Getting past that one. So this follows the literary and film trope of having the monster prologue, where it gives you a tease of the danger to come, and then it goes into the boring day in the life of.
Yeah.
And we're following the lady, a young lady, she's trying to get to this job and hitchhiking, and she's charming. It's a good character.
Yeah, we think this is our final girl, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, for sure. And then she dies early.
Yeah.
And just like Psycho,
where
I also liked that main character, that lead character in Psycho. And so I was like, okay, so someone likes Hitchcock. It's like they decided they liked Psycho a lot, but they also really liked Halloween.
Yeah.
And
it is explicitly indebted to both of those movies.
Yeah,
it doesn't hide it at all.
This is just Halloween plus Psycho for $500,000.
Yeah, I pulled a quote from John Carpenter because he's not a fan of this movie, and he said that Friday the 13th, I feel, affects me as very cynical. It's very cynical movie making. It just doesn't rise above its cheapness.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not the only one to think that. Gene Siskel famously said about Cunningham, he said he's one of the most despicable creatures ever to infest the movie business.
Yeah.
So people didn't like this dude or this film. It was bombed. Like someone early
critically
on,
bombed,
critically bombed.
But it was hugely successful.
Yeah, because it's like they had an easy formula. There's these kids and they're at a camp and they're having sex and there's some skin here and there, and then violence.
Yeah,
and then more happy-go-lucky kids, and then violence, and then at the end, fight, and then it's over.
Yeah,
there's not really a plot.
No,
it is a paper-thin movie.
Right. We're digging into this right away, so maybe let's roll the music and just get into this dissection because we're already in there. All right. 2 decades after a series of tragedies led to the closure of Camp Crystal Lake, the son of the owners enlists a team of young counselors to help him reopen. Unfortunately, after an afternoon of hijinks, they begin being murdered one by one.
That's the whole movie.
Yeah.
We're done.
It's so you kind of already explained the plot of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The background plot it's interesting is, first of all, we've got Sean S Cunningham, movie producer, right? He produced The Last House on the Left for Wes Craven.
Okay.
And he wants to make a slasher movie and basically a Halloween type movie, but based around Friday the 13th. He just thinks that's a great movie title.
Yeah.
He takes out like a full page ad in the trades. Friday the 13th. It's a logo and a broken window and really nothing else, and then starts looking for a writer and for funding.
Yeah, it was supposed to be called something like Death at Camp Blood or something really stupid like that, but then he stumbled on this Friday the 13th idea, and I was reading the whole idea of publishing that whole Friday the 13th thing is to just see if someone would contact him and say, hey, that's our IP, blah blah blah, you're trading on it, and nobody did. There was a movie that was called Friday the 13th and then : something, but they didn't really have a case, and there you go.
Yeah, and so he hires Victor Miller to write it, and maybe gets mob money to finance it. That's sort of what it or an Italian-American fraternal organization.
Yeah.
And they're off to the races. It's all business, right? This is not something where no one involved in this is like an inspired filmmaker, like that has a story they need to tell.
Yeah, there are no artists involved here.
They are just, maybe Tom Savini, the makeup artist, but
that's true.
They are just sort of cynically trying to do a Halloween.
Yeah.
And like you said, with a lot of psycho kind of peppered into it. But that's what leads to, we have a big copyright kerfuffle at the end of the day, because Victor Miller he was found to own a significant portion of this, like most of the details of this first movie that come from his screenplay are his. And Cunningham owns the stuff that came later, Jason in the hockey mask, and the things that were added beyond the original movie.
Okay.
And that is what's sort of holding up the franchise as far as with like current merchandise and reboots and things like that, is you have these two guys kind of still fighting over the scraps of this franchise. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting movie because I had no idea what this was all about, and I started watching it, and I wanted to believe, and so like I was on board with the initial character, and then when she died, I was like, okay, homage, Psycho, and then I was like, oh yeah, I didn't know Kevin Bacon was in this, and then we're watching this stuff, and I was like, okay, this was made in 79, released in 80, and this is normal. It's kind of a skin flick thing, like it's Halloween did a bit of that. Yeah. And so I get what you're doing here. When does it get interesting? When do we get a plot?
Deep into the movie.
Yeah, and you got the crazy guy coming to camp and stuff, and I was like, well, that's not enough to make a plot, is to have a guy say, there's a death curse.
Yeah. You've been cursed.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just, it was really weird how, it kind of felt like it never got serious.
Yeah. So that's you brought up all the summer camp stuff. So that's another way that Cunningham sold this when he's trying to get his funding, and he's going to these Italian Americans looking for monies. Halloween+Meatballs is his elevator pitch. So you got the teens at summer camp, meatballs aspect of it, and then you've got the slasher, the Halloween part of it. And this is, like you said, 1979 going into 80. We're having the rise of the video store, and that stuff is happening. Video cassette recorders for home are starting to become affordable for people. Halloween+Meatballs is sort of a guaranteed formula for money.
Sure, yeah, it's definitely going to make money. So it was a beautiful set. I liked the camp. It was in New Jersey, and it was actually at a Boy Scout camp, which evidently is still continued and still standing and operating as a summer camp. And it has some weird name like Nobibosco or something like that. It's
like a faux Native American name.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
There's a lot of that. Yeah, in this movie.
There's a little Coachella going on.
Some culturally insensitive, like there's a totem pole, or a facsimile of a totem pole when you arrive at the camp, and I was like, I don't feel like East Coast Native Americans even carve totem poles.
No, that's like a Western thing.
Yeah, that's a Pacific Northwest thing. And it's like, if only the totem pole was the least offensive thing to happen.
Yeah. So I guess sort of getting into the writing and all of that, this movie tried to do. I could tell that the author or the writer was really trying to do some things.
Yeah,
but it felt very like the plot was schlocky. There wasn't a lot of nuance. They were trying to make the place seem like a haunted camp for decades and all of this stuff, but none of the menace that was intended in the script came through, because it's beautiful, bright, sunny days, kids swimming out on the dock and joking around. So much practical joking happening in this damn movie. I'm like, what does this serve?
Because you're supposed to be, I think, investing in these kids, and
they're so paper thin. There's the nerd, there's the jock,
kind of. I hated Ned. I'll just it's very rare. I have a lot of tolerance. I hated this kid and was so glad. I sort of knew as the most obnoxious kid he would be the first one to get killed.
Yes.
But I was rooting for him to die sooner. I wish he had drowned when he faked it. It was he was so obnoxious, and it's never funny. I don't know if it read funny in 1980, if anyone was like, oh, this guy is the life of the party, or if it was always just
cringeworthy.
None of these jokes work. He is only a creep. He shot an arrow at a girl. He endangers everyone multiple times.
Yeah, he's just an attention seeker that's just sort of I don't know, he's just really obnoxious.
Yeah.
I have no love for that character either.
Yeah. So, good job, Mrs. Voorhees, for slicing his throat.
Yeah, there were a few writing and directing things that were done fairly well. How it was, it would seem like there's an idyllic scene and then boom, violence.
Yeah, and very violent.
Yes,
this is not most of the violence happens off screen. I don't know. I watched the uncut version. I don't know if you watched that or the theatrical one.
I think I watched the theatrical one.
Yeah. Still, though, I think quite gruesome.
Yeah, it's definitely
axe to the face.
Yeah, it's brutal. When I saw the axe in the face, I was like, "Oh God!"
Yeah. Yes, it's choices. There's a lot of choices being made in this movie.
Yeah, so they were playing on the slasher trope, obviously, because they wanted to copy Halloween, but they extremely simplified it. They were trying to use like certain conventions, like the unseen killer, death while having sex, that whole all of these little kind of classic things, and they were so straightforward. They were simultaneously accessible by people, but also lame.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're into this kind of movie, I'm not going to say that I'm super into slashers, but I would like a little nuance going on. And this was just like straightforward. It's like, here you go. And it was extremely unnuanced.
Yeah. So like the other slashers that we've covered, or we've mainly covered things that are like on the edges, like Terminator and Alien, which sort of fit the mold, but aren't quite there. And so I was trying to
American Psycho, sort of.
Yeah, American Psycho is like beyond then.
Yeah.
If Psycho is the proto and American Psycho is post, we're firmly in like the first wave of slasher
and of course we did Halloween, and Halloween is like the proper Psycho.
It's the prototypical slasher.
It does everything right. It has all of the interesting things. So you talked about the plot twist, the big twist, where it's the unseen killer is Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah.
Not Jason. It's not the boy who drowned. It's the grieving mother.
Yeah. And she was the killer in our prologue, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so basically, like, this, I'm not sure if they were trying to subvert expectations or do something like sort of meta commentary or whatever. But ultimately, it seemed like, it seemed lame. Like, you're like, okay, so your big villain who managed to like overpower and kill these people is like a grandma who is basically just a Karen.
Yeah.
She just bitches at everyone, and she has short blonde hair, and she's too small to be believably killing people with axes and stuff. Like, this is not believable.
Yeah, you didn't like... See, I think the twist lands because it is unexpected. Like, you don't think it's going to be a 60-year-old woman. Like
they really needed to have themselves like someone of larger stature to be believable. In
a sturdier gal, basically.
Someone that looks like she's ever split wood.
Yeah, just like, that's a fair point. Like, if you make it a Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
A sturdy-looking woman that you can imagine swinging an axe, and not just a retired actress.
Yeah, I'm not generally super picky about casting like for body size or shape or whatever, but in this case, she's like 5'7", probably 120 pounds. She's not...
You don't think she could overpower a teen boy?
Not at all. She couldn't overpower the teen girls.
No, that's true. That's a fair point. And, I didn't bump up against it. I think just because at that point I'm in the movie and I'm sort of laughing at the ridiculousness of it.
When she showed herself or whatever, I was just like, really? I could choke that bitch with my left hand while fending the axe off with my right or whatever.
Which we're not advocating
is no,
choking 60-year-old women.
There is no danger here for a person of moderate to large stature, like some of these gentlemen. Like, it's like, come on.
Yeah, because like let's see. Let's back it up, because there is a bit of a bait and switch, because we are kind of led to believe that, what's his name, Steve Christie, that's the owner of the camp, that he's maybe the killer. Yeah,
the guy who's wearing the short cutoffs and the bandana around the neck and the hiking boots,
and has a improper relationship with one of the counselors, or at least it's implied. We get the impression she's unhappy with something that he did before the movie started, right?
Yes.
Because she has the scary picture she drew of him, and he's like, is this what I look like? And she goes, that's what you looked like last night. And she's wanting to leave, and he's like coercing her into sticking around for another week. And it's all very creepy. And then he leaves in the Jeep. And then we see our hitchhiker girl get picked up in the Jeep.
In the Jeep, yes.
And then we never see who's driving. And so there is this sort of... We think, at least at first, we think it's Steve that picked her up.
So when I was watching this, I immediately just saw it. I was like, oh, they want me to think it's him, but it's not him.
Yeah, you didn't buy it.
Not for a moment.
Real, okay.
It was just like... Okay, so he's supposed to be on the list of suspects, but it's definitely not him.
Well, I mean, part of that though is where we're expecting Jason, right?
Well, there's also the idea that when he picks up the girl in the Jeep or whatever, if he was really like the camp master, it would have been like, "Hey, I'm the one who hired you." Like it would have been a different conversation.
Well, so here's another thing. So imagine you're hitchhiking, and obviously this girl is getting by on the kindness of strangers and is making poor life decisions in general. But you get picked up by a stranger in a Jeep. We know that it's a 60 or so year
old.
An
old lady. You're totally safe.
She doesn't say a word to you the whole time and just starts driving crazy. Like, it's... it's a very weird scenario, and then she jumps out headfirst out of the moving Jeep and flees into the woods, and we are to believe this old woman chased her down and murdered her
in the woods, like just slit her throat.
Yeah.
And it's weird because the first thing that occurred to me was just reach over and take it out of gear.
Oh, in an old Jeep? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a manual. Whatever, put it in reverse. Just grenade the thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, you don't have to jump out in the moving car if you're being kidnapped.
One of the moments of actual peril, because that is such a scary way that she jumps out of the car.
Absolutely. You're going to hit your head on the concrete.
That did not look like a professional stunt jump at all. That looked like
a sack of potatoes.
Like, are you okay with jumping out of the car? Sure, I'll try it. And then this untrained girl jumps out of a moving Jeep. Yeah. Oh, it looked bad. Like,
I hope they paid her extra.
I hope they get residuals on this movie because it made a ton.
Yeah, it made a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay, so interesting. So yeah, we've got the fake out, we've got the twist, we've got the meatballs element, we've got the tropes of the slasher, which I was looking up. Halloween 78. This is the very next year. There's not a ton of slasher movies in between, and we've really set up the formula thoroughly. Like, have sex in the movie, you're going to get killed. These there's certain things that were an accident in Halloween and now have become the rules of the slasher film. It's like they're calcified with this one.
Yeah, that's it's interesting because I was just recently giving a talk about Shakespeare and historical literature, specifically British literature. People that have sex out of wedlock in the classics are like 65% chance that they die in the book.
Yeah, so it goes way back.
It goes way back.
We might say Shakespeare is the original slasher.
Yeah,
the John Carpenter of his time.
Yeah. Talking about Romeo and Juliet specifically, and there are other great examples as well. But yeah, so it's just sort of a human trope. It's like you had sex and you're naughty, so you're dying. Yeah,
and so let's see. We figure out though that Steve is not the guy. That's revealed to us when we see that Steve just needed a break from these fucking kids and has been hanging out at the diner all day.
Yeah.
I guess he was in no hurry to come back to camp while these kids are getting murdered.
I don't blame him. Fucking guy.
Once Ned was out of the picture, I think the kids are all a dream from there on out. They're all good kids.
They're all right.
I fully like most of these kids. I just hated Ned. Once you got rid of him, I think Pamela could have taken the rest of the summer off and just let these kids have their fun.
Mark Nelson was either a genius at making us hate the character, or he is just inherently a shitter.
Is unlikable as a real person.
And they filmed it.
Yeah.
There are people like that.
Yeah, it could be because these are legitimate, actual young people.
Yeah.
And a fair amount of the grabassery could be real,
Or they're just embracing their sophomoric behaviors and doing it.
They're young and beautiful and working on a real movie, and sure, why not? Let's act like idiots.
Yeah, they said just go and act a fool. All right.
Perfect. Weird teenagers.
Yeah, easily done.
We are all fools.
So talking about visuals here.
Okay.
There were some moments when Abrams' cinematography was actually really good.
Yeah.
So I shit all over the writing and directing of this movie, but I actually think the cinematography is legit. I like how he uses really stark contrasts between the light and the shadows. There's a lot of visually unsettling atmosphere. He uses the big shots of nature, and he likes to do kind of that over-the-shoulder, semi-obscured shot.
Yeah, you're being watched.
It's really effective at the POV, and ultimately, I felt like especially the killing scenes, they were really well shot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There is a bunch of scenes in this movie that you've seen before. You've seen them on posters and like video boxes and T-shirts and everything. Like the girl, whoever the girl that's Kevin Bacon's girlfriend, when she goes to the bathroom, there's a shot of her sort of like walking in, and I think she's got the raincoat with panties visible underneath it, and you're looking at this like creepy outhouse bathroom, and I was like, I've seen this a million times. I wouldn't have been able to tell you, oh, that's Friday the 13th part 1. Like, but there's a bunch of these shots that are just, like you said, well composed and iconic and have been homaged and copied by, other people in the genre moving forward from this.
Yeah, they really used what they had to its maximum with the camp's atmosphere, with darkness and fog and the trees. I just felt like they were able to make this. They were able to make it spooky at times.
At times, yeah.
And other times it felt like meatballs.
Yeah, and so the other thing when you're talking about the visuals that jump out at me is Tom Savini's special effects, because
Absolutely.
It is a gruesome movie. Like the first kind of throat cutting you see, and like the blood comes,
and I was like, "Whoa, what the hell? That quick?"
Yeah, and it's very much like, "Oh, this is one of these movies. This is This is a blood gushing movie, And like, the Pamela Voorhees, this is at the end, but getting her head fully clean chopped off is pretty extreme. Kevin Bacon with the arrow through the throat is gruesome. The axe to the face.
Oh yeah. The actual practical effects for the gore were very good.
Yeah,
they were extremely realistic for the era.
Yeah, so I think Savini, he has this, and Return of the Living Dead is right around the same time. And these two movies, like, made a legend of the guy. Like, just those two together.
Yeah, movies were getting really interesting in this era. Interestingly, this is the same year, so competition against this movie was Empire Strikes Back and The Shining.
Wow.
Better movies.
So this is the same year as The Shining, because there's the door chopping scene. Mm-hmm. And I thought for sure that was a ripoff of The Shining, but it's the same year.
Yeah, they released this both 1980.
Wow, something in the water in 1980 for chopping down the door with your victim inside. Because
it was pretty cool actually. Yeah. Like, it made me think, like, when I was looking at facts things from 1980. I was like, I kind of want to watch The Shining.
Yeah, we got to get to that one.
I've seen it before, but it's great.
So it's 45th anniversary too, if it's 1980.
Oh yeah, we got to get that in this year.
We'll slot The Shining in there. We'll get it.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, that's a winter movie. We'll get that in before the end of the year. We get The Shining in this year too,
for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I got to give it to Kubrick over Cunningham on doing that scene more effectively. But
I wonder who is the master director of these two.
Yeah,
yeah. Kubrick is you notably a master filmmaker, and Cunningham, a despicable villain by most people's opinion.
I think just probably an average Hollywood scumbag.
Yeah, he's like Weinstein level, or maybe not so bad.
I don't think we've heard anything to put him in that category.
Okay, my bad.
I think just
a scumbag.
A grubby scumbag that wants to churn out schlock movies. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Some people like bad movies a lot. And that's okay.
My last two credits in the visual is Virginia Field, production design and costumes by Karen Copeland. That's Karen with a C, very unusual. And I like the costumes too. The rain jackets are all like, everyone's got like brightly colored rain slickers.
Yeah.
And like you talk about they're dark, they're in the woods in the rain, but you can always spot them and tell them apart. And the costumes define the character. Like the costumes tell you about the characters in general.
Yeah, for sure.
And so those all work really well on a low budget.
Yeah, it's like Halloween, low budget. You spray paint a Halloween mask, and that's a signature item.
We're making the best of it. Yeah. So I think those people with their limited resources did a fine job.
So let's talk about audio.
All right.
We got Harry Manfredini's score.
Iconic.
I gotta say, the score, pretty good. But if I have to listen to that key, ma, one more time, I'm going to have to mute the thing. I'm so tired of it because it's like a ham-fisted signal. The killer's nearby. You better pay attention. It's like, oh, okay, because I'm not watching this fucking movie. I can't figure that out. You gotta give me an audio signal. Do you want to put a buzzer in my pocket to also let me know when the killer's nearby?
Oh, that's called the tingler. There was a movie promoter in the 60s that did that, where they put buzzers in the seats.
Okay, well, there you go. Because this was I mean, Cunningham is not a subtle director.
This is not a subtle score.
This score is so unsubtle, it is obnoxiously so. Like, it wanted to be Psycho with the but it wasn't.
No, it doesn't have. No, it doesn't have any of like the control of Psycho.
Yes,
which because I was listening to it because it's got the heavy violin bow staccato. I don't know what to call it, but it does the Psycho thing, but more.
Yes.
Like, it's like, whereas like the Psycho score is it's just all violins, cellos, violas, things like that. This is more fully orchestrated, and it has the kill, ma.
I hate it.
Which I never got was kill mama.
Yeah, or kill her mommy or kill ma. It's kill and mom or whatever.
Yeah, kill. I just thought it was a sound.
Yeah, me too. Until I read about the thing.
But it is, I mean, again, extremely influential. This is something that has outlived the movie. When I heard it, I was like, oh, that's what this comes from.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, that has, as much as the re thing is someone getting stabbed, kill, ma, is the killer's right behind you. You know, like, it's that sort of thing. And the score, there's no score when the killer isn't present. So it is, I think, artfully done. I mean,
artful that's a dangerous word. I would say effective.
Intentionally.
At signaling you. They might as well have put words on the screen.
Look behind you.
Yeah.
Right there, bitch.
Get ready. Someone gonna die.
Yeah, but it's that kind of movie is ultimately the thing. Like, you either buckle up and just like revel in the wanton murder of teens, or don't.
I don't know. Does it have to be this way in order to be a violent movie? Like, I think that Halloween does all of this stuff too, but it does it better. It's just more artful.
Well, I think, again, John Carpenter, is an auteur director.
Yes.
And Cunningham is a schlockmeister.
Yeah.
You know,
man, this was like if No, I don't want to even shit on those guys. I was gonna say this is like Tromaville horror, but those guys are actually better than Cunningham, I think.
Yeah, it's a less cynical sort of schlock where it's done for the love funny, of the schlock. Yeah. Whereas this, I think, is really done for the love of money.
Yes.
Like, not for the love of making movies. It's like, I made a lot of movie off of that Wes Craven movie, and if I don't hire a director and I just direct it myself, I can make one of these. How easy could it be? Directors are stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's very...
You're just following a template. Hire a guy to write Halloween+Meatballs, take a bunch of influence from Psycho, and boom. Rent a camp for a while.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it worked, though. But the thing is, like, we could, like, bag on it, but it worked.
It worked because of when it happened. I don't think that you could... I think that media has moved to the point where doing formulaic, almost homage type movies, it can't really be a thing on a shoestring budget. The only people that gets away with formulaic movies like this is Marvel.
Yeah.
Everybody else most people have to put out quality or it just goes nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that, and I don't know...
Because if you look at the percentage, it multiplied its budget by like 100. Yeah. There are so many better movies that can't do that.
But it is just, this has remained a truism all along that horror movies, low budget horror movies, always make money.
That's true.
Like, that has just always been the case, and I don't think that has even changed. I think now. Whereas, like, before they made their money through, like, VHS rentals or whatever, now it's like Tubi. You know, like, you make these shit bomb movies, and, like, stoned teenagers watch them.
Charge it to their parents' credit card.
Yeah, well, no, Tubi's got ads. So you can watch Tubi for free. And ads make money. And so, like, this model still exists. It's just sort of morphed into the streaming world.
Okay, maybe I'm just out of touch. I'm an elitist.
Yeah, and there's people that love this shit, that love low budget slasher movies and just live for it. And this is like the granddaddy of them. Like, okay, you know.
So I mean,
are we into performances?
Yeah, let's get into the performances because we got some pretty decent ones here. I think my list is probably all jumbled up because I didn't take a good cast list. I had Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees.
Yeah,
and she delivers a performance.
I like Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees. She was fully retired. It'd been 20 years since her last movie role. And they're banking on that. If you know who this old lady is, you're not expecting her to be a killer.
Yes.
You know?
I think when she's talking about her son and when she's acting, she's great.
Among the better performances of the movie.
Absolutely. This movie is filled with garbage actors with terrible performances. Her performance was good.
Yeah.
When she was acting, her fighting scene at the end, among the worst fighting scenes I've ever seen. It is so utterly bad, even to the point where when the girl cuts her head off with the machete, I am a person who sword fights as a hobby. You couldn't cut anything with that swing. It was like all wrist, no follow through.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever played baseball, you know how you have to hit a ball to make it go far.
Yeah.
That girl's never played baseball.
Yeah. Well, that was Adrienne King as Alice. That's on her.
But the whole fight in general, it just looked like feeble wuss versus feeble wuss.
There was the one that really kind of like bugged me was when she has the rifle, right? But she can't. They have their ammunition locked up. Thanks, Obama. And
damn liberal.
Yeah, and so she can't get the bullets out to shoot the old lady, right? And so when she goes to hit her with the gun, there's kind of two ways to hit someone with a gun: the butt of the rifle. Famous way to hit someone with a gun.
Yeah, if you got leverage.
Or the barrel. piece of steel, get that in the teeth. No one likes that. No one likes to get hit in the face with a gun. She hits her with the middle of the gun. I was like, that's not... You don't have the power, right? Of the swing. You don't have... It's just not the dangerous part of a gun.
When I was in basic training, you have dummy rifles. They're not real. They're made of rubber, but they have a steel action and barrel. Mm-hmm. A guy hit me in the gut with the butt of the rifle. Like you would think, just boom. Yeah. And I was like, ugh. And as I was falling forward, I swung and hit him with the barrel upside the noggin.
Yeah.
We were both fucked up.
Yeah.
It was over for us for a while.
That's what, if you hit this old woman with either end of the rifle, who cares if there's a bullet in it? Just hit her with it.
I was like, you have yourself a nice club.
Yeah.
If you're strong, you hold it by the barrel and swing the heavy end. If you're weak, you hold the heavy end and swing the metal part.
Yeah. Fail.
They had no action coordinator in this movie.
No.
You got to tell me. So
you just had you had a young girl and a veteran actress who had been retired.
And someone's like, they're like, just hit her with it.
Yeah. And she goes, ugh.
I think in a modern day, if a slasher movie like this was made in the modern day, they would have someone who is at least a fighting enthusiast to choreograph it. There would be choreography.
Yeah.
There was none here.
Yeah.
They were just sort of pushing and shoving.
I think there was more than there was choreography. There was just sort of a shot list of the different places that you run and hide to.
Yes.
You know, and
I know I ruin things for myself when I think about them from like a real fighting perspective.
Right.
But Jesus Christ, it's so not believable.
And it's a very long
and well lit.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like Roddy Piper's fight scene.
Yeah. And the other one, I mean, and with all love and respect to Adrienne King, she's a dollar store Jamie Lee Curtis. You know what I mean? Like, she's not quite filling the kids. And she's just not quite making it. She's not ever as investable as Jamie Lee Curtis was.
So she's supposed to be the final girl.
Yeah.
But, man,
I would have picked almost any of the other girls.
Yeah, she was... Honestly. I wanted the very first one.
Yeah.
She was the best one of the bunch. So it was just like, dang, this is not it. These two, at the end, I'm not invested in either one. Alice or Pamela.
Yeah. So, but the one thing I'll get when Alice swings on her with the cast iron pan and manages to donk her in the head, and I was like, all right, finally, one more, lift it up. The lodge pan will do all the rest of the work. Stave her head in with the
Zombieland had not come out. There was no double tap rule.
Yeah, and I was like, just finish Grandma off. She's killed all your friends. Summon up the righteous anger and just bring the pan down one more time. And that's the end of it. And she's like, I just need to get out on the canoe and clear my head.
This is terrible. I need to go boating.
Yeah.
With no paddle, I might add.
Well, she had a paddle. There's one more fight, and that's where the paddle gets lost.
Yeah.
And where she finally gets frustrated and chops her head off. The last thing I want to say about Betsy Palmer, because you brought up Gene Siskel or Roger Ebert. I forget which one. Those two catty bitches doxed her. And
I saw that.
They published Betsy Palmer's address and encouraged people to write angry letters to her for doing this movie.
And the address of someone at the movie studio that published it. I remember reading that they doxed like 2 or 3 people and to get people to write angry letters about this movie. That's not cool.
It's not cool. You have to admire the hater love, like off the charts haterism of it, but no, that's not appropriate.
Yeah, I'm not sure that doxing was such a thing back in the day, but it's a dick move no matter how you look at it.
Yeah. So next I have Harry Crosby as Bill. This is Bing Crosby's son. Bill is the most competent boy. He lasts the longest. I like Bill. When he gets down to Bill and Alice, I found myself feeling anxious for them.
I didn't like Bill and Alice at all because they're too I don't know. They're just too boring. They're like the preppy ones who are singing the Kumbaya songs, looking at each other in the eye, and I'm just like, ugh, just puke in my mouth. I don't like either of you guys.
Oh, that's funny. I found myself getting anxious when it got down to Bill and Alice, and everyone else was dead, and I was like, I feel nervous for these kids because I know Bill's going to die because that's the
everyone
way
has to die.
That's the way these things work. Only the last girl survives. And so I'm like, no, I feel after not caring about anything that happened in this movie up until this point, when it got down to 2 kids, I was like, I feel nervous for these kids. Like it got there. On the other hand, Bill killed a live snake, and I'll talk more about that later in the different part of this dissection, but I'm not a big fan of what happened there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really think that
we'll run through the rest of the kids.
Jeez,
speed run through the kids.
I was not invested in any of these kids. I thought none of them were likable to me, and I guess that's just because I'm a cranky old dude.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kevin Bacon's Jack.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon was all right, and that's just because I knew him, I knew his face, and I liked him. Yeah. Like I said, I liked Robbie Morgan as Annie Phillips. That was the only one that I was invested in.
Yeah. Laurie Bartman as Brenda. I think Brenda's the one that suggests playing Strip Monopoly, right?
There you go.
I feel like Brenda was angling on Alice. I don't think she was interested in Bill.
Brenda likes to party.
Yeah, and Janine Taylor as Marcy, who I feel like I like Marcy. If Marcy and Kevin Bacon's Jack just fucked off and left, got in the truck and drove off, I'd be happy with that ending of the movie too.
For sure.
Because they don't deserve this.
They were nice kids.
Yeah. Anyone else? Walt Gorney as Crazy Ralph. There's a curse.
I don't know. That was just hammy. That was just so I like how
he rode his bike off into the woods. It's like everyone else, it takes forever to get out to camp. But Crazy Ralph has a shortcut through the woods on his bike. You know, a little 6-speed or whatever girl's bike. He can just ride out there and beat the cops there.
And then, of course, Ari Lehman as Little Jason.
Oh, yeah. Again, let's talk about Little Jason. Because I think Pamela Voorhees, negligent mother, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
She doesn't fully say it, but we've seen images of him. He's a developmentally delayed or a special needs boy.
Something.
Yeah. He's out there swimming at night. And
always responsible.
And she's mad at the counselors who were playing grab ass.
And who weren't watching him.
Where were you, bitch? Like, it's very like...
Yeah, because she worked at the camp,
She worked at the camp. You're ultimately in charge of your special needs son. And she's like, she almost says it. She goes, he wasn't a strong swimmer is all she says. And it's like,
he was a feeble wuss.
Yeah, like he had these problems and these needs, and I wasn't watching him. Ultimately, it's always on the parent, even if she's a working mom. It is on her to watch the kid and not the other teens, you know?
Especially at night. They get time off.
Yeah.
They're not working 24 hours a day.
Cooking for the kids in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
What's she doing? She's probably sleeping. She's probably wine drunk, asleep with a cigarette in her hand. And she blames those kids for letting her son drown.
Absolutely.
But it's really bad mom.
And I don't believe that little Jason could be the Jason in the future movies. I'm sure they have to come up with some supernatural reason that he becomes a hunk.
Yeah, he turns into like a pro wrestler type.
Yeah.
A beefy Hulk. Yeah. It's just waterlogged, I think.
Oh, yeah, he's just bloated.
He's just like a sponge down there at the bottom of Crystal Lake.
He sloshes when he walks.
He does kind of slosh when he walks, doesn't he? My mental image of Jason is wet.
I'm never going to know.
We're never watching the rest of these movies.
God, no.
I don't think you get Jason in the hockey mask until the third one.
Wow. I read a bit online, and they said that the second movie was the best of them all.
I heard someone say the fourth.
Okay.
It's any franchise that's like that. There's like, well, there's a dozen of them. You have to watch 1 for the lore. 2 is actually pretty good. 4 is the best, but 8 is when it really kicks off. And you're like, oh Jesus, dude, I'm not watching 8 terrible movies.
It's like a streaming show, and someone is like, "Oh man, the first 5 episodes of season 1 are bad, but once you get to episode 6 and beyond, it's just insane." It's like, what do you mean? There's only 8 episodes, and they're an hour.
Yeah,
you went through more bad than good.
Yeah, I mean, more power to you. I mean, everyone's done that. Where if you've put the time in, I'm glad you got something out of your time, but you can't expect other people to do it.
Yeah, absolutely not. So yeah, I think we've kind of wrung the juice from
We've wrung the juice from it. Okay, so what's your personal highlight?
Well, I had a hard time finding one.
Okay,
but I'm gonna go.
As did I.
I'm going to go with the arrow through the throat in Jack's for killing of Jack.
Killing Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, not because it was like special or anything, but basically Kevin Bacon's character, he's charming and lighthearted, and then all of a sudden, just out of the blue, a totally abrupt murder, just boom. Oh, damn. He did. It's like crazy. It's a total jolt, and it actually jolted me.
And it's well paced out, too, because, like, let's... some of the background. The girlfriend told him about... she's been having these nightmares with, like, blood rain, right? And so that foreshadows, because, well, he's laying in the bed in this sort of post-coital bliss. She's gone off to pee and not get a UTI. Smart girl. And he's laying there in the bed, and then Ned blood starts dripping on him, as was foreshadowed by her dream. And before he can go and investigate it, we get the Pamela hand reaches up and grabs him and holds him still, and then the arrow comes up through the throat.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that Mrs. Voorhees could have held him down, but there you go.
And stabbed him through the mattress.
Yeah, no, that would not happen. But, it's whatever.
Gotta be like...
But at that point in the movie, we don't know it's a feeble old lady.
I'm still thinking it's Jason. And I'm imagining a water-soaked ghoul in a hockey mask.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Jason as well. Although I couldn't explain the Jeep hitchhiker ride.
Yeah, I guess Jason drove Jeeps back then.
Yeah, I was like, did he not have his mask on? Did he just look like a regular dude?
Yeah, I
don't know.
They haven't figured out that he's a mask-wearing zombie yet. He's just a guy at this point. I was rationalizing it.
Yeah, so even though it's not realistic that she could have pulled that killing off, it was such a jolt, and he was a great character. So it was I don't know, it was just kind of whiplash.
And what else I'll say about that sequence is, unlike all the sex scenes in Halloween, he makes a good showing of it. He
does a good job.
Yeah, he makes tender love to her, and then she lays there blissfully and says, "You're so kind," or something like that. Whereas all the guys in Halloween are already zipping up their pants and going downstairs after way before,
or saying, "Fetch me a beer."
Yeah, I was real gentleman material here. This guy, he's not one of these Halloween scumbags. He's a real lover.
He's a keeper.
Yeah. No. And he got it. He got an arrow
Fucking
to the
Ned's
throat
blood.
For his trouble.
I'm going to blame Ned.
Yeah. So you're tall.
Yeah.
You walk into and you've been to camp. You've been to
I worked at a camp.
You'd notice your dead friend laying in the top bunk.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because they're below, they're below eye level on me, but you would notice.
Yeah. I was I'm shorter than you, but I feel
you could see for sure.
See the body. Yeah. Anyways, that's it. I think you picked a good highlight.
So what about you? What's your personal highlight?
So I was tempted to say when Ned got killed.
Just out of spite.
Because I was oh God, kill this kid. Like I was really rooting for his death. But his happens mostly off screen. Like she lures him into a cabin and we don't see it. We don't see him until he starts dripping blood on Kevin Bacon. So for me, my personal highlight was after everything gets down to just Bill and Alice, like, and they're sort of wrapping up from the Monopoly game and kind of figure out that they're all alone. And like, I get the first sense of dread that I've had in the entire movie. Oh. And I was like, oh, like all of a sudden this movie snuck up on me and I found myself invested in it instead of just laughing at it. So like that's sort of the moment of Bill and Alice figuring out that they're alone and trying to find out what the hell's going on. Like they go to the car won't start. All these things that like have become the tropes of these movies. Yeah. Like, and we go through all that and I'm like, oh God, these kids are going to die. Like, and I'm starting to like feel it. So like the whole movie, I'm just like laughing at it up until this point. And now I find myself invested in it. And so the Bill and Alice, what are we going to do? Part of the movie is my highlight.
Okay. I can get behind that moment.
Yeah. I was hoping you were going to say when Jason comes out of the pond though, because that's a really good one too.
I mean, yeah, it's a jump scare. Yeah, you don't expect it.
She's like, "Yay, the police!" and Jason comes out. No, think again. Pool zombie has got you. What worked for you?
I would say that there was definitely shock value, and there were some kind of visceral moments where you're like, some like moments where I made some sounds. Yeah. And that's real. I think that's legit. It evoked some stuff, and I'm going to give that almost 100% to Tom Savini. Yeah. Just because it was so good. His practical effects are legit.
That axe to the face is like, you go, oof. It's like, oh, God.
I'm a sucker for good practical effects. Yeah. There's just something better about it. Yeah. And then I would also say that in those moments when the cinematography makes the camp into a character of its own. Yeah. And they make it suspenseful and atmospheric, and you're sort of stalking along with the killer's POV, and I just feel like those moments were good. They made me feel like I was playing a video game. Like, is there a video game where you're like where you're a slasher?
I think there is there's definitely Friday the 13th video games,
because it seemed like where you play as Jason though. I want to play as Mrs. Voorhees only. I will not play as Jason.
You're a hipster.
I'm a purist.
Yeah. I like the original.
I would actually rather play as the Shape if I'm gonna play in a slasher.
Well, the modding community, you can put your favorite slasher in here.
Yeah, and if they name him something, that's wrong because he's just called the Shape. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. I thought that the visceral thrills and also kind of the atmosphere and suspense was legit. What about you? What worked for you?
I'm pretty close with you. So I think the kills are gruesome and fun. It's a real like kind of splatter movie. Yeah. And
we don't do a ton of these.
Yeah. I sort of cheered at every sort of gruesome death. I'm like, oh, oof, and I had those reactions. So like you said, that is a response. Like, yeah, they tried to get a response and they achieved it. Two, I think the music is iconic. I know it does. God. It grated on you. I listened to the score like twice today. It's ham-fisted. I won't argue with that, but I think it really works for the movie, and it's deployed in a storytelling way, right? Like, even if that's ham-fisted too. So I think the music's iconic. And finally, I like the twist that it's the old lady. Like, it's sort of a reverse Psycho, right? Where it's the son that's actually the killer dressed up like the old lady. This one's a real old lady. And so
it would have been great if she was dressed up like the sun.
She sort of does that, like where she's
just wearing a knit sweater.
Like, kill them, mommy. And
she does the voice. I do like that.
Yeah, she does the little kid voice. So it is.
That was Shades of Psycho for sure.
It's reverse Psycho.
Yeah. Like, there were multiple times in this movie where I was like, oh, that's from Psycho.
Yeah.
Oh, that's from Psycho. And when she started talking like her son, I was like, basically Psycho.
Yeah, it's the Funhouse Mirror version of the Psycho thing, and I think that works. What didn't work for you?
Oh man, do we have time for this?
I think we're cruising. This is a shorter episode.
So the plot didn't have one. It was.
We got to get this camp fixed up.
It was super thin. It was ultra predictable. It was so straightforward as to be utterly predictable. From once you know the premise, you know the whole plot.
Yeah.
The only thing that changed was the twist, and I thought the twist was a bad twist. So
the methodology for the different killings.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, I have in my little notes here, I wrote, Halloween did everything this movie did, but did it way better.
Yeah, that's true.
So, okay, what else? Stock characters. So when I teach writing, there's a difference between dynamic characters and stock characters. Dynamic characters have personality and motivation. They're three-dimensional. They usually fall into a bunch of, the different aspects. Then there are stock characters, which usually fall into a bunch of simplistic tropes. Every single character in the movie is a stock character. None of them are dynamic characters.
Even Steve Christie?
Which one is he?
He's the guy that his parents owned the camp.
Oh, the guy that wants to fix it up?
He wants to fix up the camp.
Yeah, he is also a stock character. There's nothing here interesting from a character development or a drama or an intrigue or a thought-provoking perspective for a human drama.
Yeah,
and
let's just plug in on that for a second. Why are any of these kids here? Why are they doing this with their summer?
Well, I mean, they're probably being paid.
Well, yeah, but you don't just stumble on this summer camp, right? It's everyone's traveled here from somewhere. We don't really know anyone's motivation or character.
I worked at a summer camp for a year. Actually, I did it for 2 years, and it was basically because it's a summertime job in a nice, cool place where there are other kids, nice, cool people. I played a bunch of D&D and nerded out with cool people that I liked, and I just thought it was really enjoyable.
Okay.
So, I mean,
it was something you found through Boy Scouts?
Yeah, through the Scouts. If I was I had gone as a camper a bunch of times, and I thought, I bet I'd like to do this as a counselor, and I did, and it was fun. And so I could see if they had been campers at a summer camp, they may have thought, hey, I bet this would be fun to be a counselor, because it is. It is actually fun.
So, but I guess my point is we spent 90 minutes with these kids and we don't know
anything. We don't know where they're from. Yeah. We don't know anything about them. They're so basic. It actually,
Alice's family's in California. We know that.
Yeah, and since Shakespeare is on the mind, the reason all of his dramas still resonate and they've been remade, he has something like over 500 writing credits on modern films, is because every play he wrote was a human drama first.
Right.
And then everything happened around it. You could find a character that you loved in every Shakespeare play. There are no characters that there's one that you hate because he's annoying. The rest you just feel kind of oh, they're handsome. She's pretty. Her shirt. Okay, this place is, they made choices what's going on here? Who are these? No, it's all just so boring. And then add on top of that, bad acting. These were some
novice actors for the most part.
I wrote community theater level, but that besmirches community theater. I've seen some pretty legit performances at community theater. This is some basic casting, cheapest. Give me some good-looking young teens, and all they need to do is just be a teen. Just act a fool. They don't actually have to do whatever.
Be a teen, just act a fool. I like that.
There's no level here. There's no acting. Okay. And then the villain is a Karen. Really? That final fight scene was such a letdown. It made me absolutely I was just flabbergasted. By the end of the fight, because it was so long, I was just like,
It does.
Be done, please.
I'll piggyback on that because it does go on so long, which is sort of copying Halloween, right? Because you've got to have several times that she stabs Michael Myers and escapes, and then he gets back up, right? So that's part of the thing. And so she beats the old woman like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But it is an old woman. It's not the shape. It's not like...
She should have been done with one skillet bonk.
For real. I mean,
That's
most
legit.
people are done with one skillet bonk.
You get a concussion. Even if you do kind of become lucid, you're not like...
Get up and chase.
You're not aware, yeah. And then the last kind of thing I wrote, so when they had the little Jason jump out of the water and whatnot, that was a legitimate jump scare at the end. And I was like, oh, okay, you got us. That's cool. And then it cut to her waking up in a hospital.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, really?
Yeah, because you're supposed to, you're imagining, you're supposed to question whether it happened or not.
Yeah. And so it's is this real? Is this not real? Was this in her mind? Did she dream this? And I was like thinking to myself, shit tier, please roll the credits. I want to be done with this.
Well, luckily it had opening credits, and so the movie's basically over.
Yeah. And so that's that. I won't go on.
Okay.
What didn't work for you?
They killed a live snake.
Okay.
So this is
I didn't read about
this
that.
is a fucked up story. So there's one of the early teen hijinks is there's a snake in the cabin, and Bill, who is our like the capable boy of all of these kids, kills it with a machete. They did not inform the snake wrangler that they were going to kill his snake. They just had him bring the snake in. This is like a
performance snake.
A performance snake, a professional snake handler. They had him bring the snake in and then killed it on camera without telling him or asking consent to do it.
Wow, that's bullshit.
And it's so fucked up. And like, kind of like, because I could tell it was a live snake. It wasn't like a rubber snake or something like that. And I was like, well, that's fucked up. They killed a real snake, and then like found out the backstory of it as well. And it's like just gross. Like, this is just, I get it. Not everyone likes reptiles or considers them in the same way that we think of dogs and cats, but you can't just kill someone's animal. It's fucked up. So number 2.
Agree.
It's just a cheap ripoff of Halloween.
It is.
It's like something that I always kind of get on. Don't ever make someone think of a better movie while they're watching your movie.
Yes.
It does not ever serve you well to be constantly reminding someone of classic films. And this movie is constantly making you think of Halloween, Psycho, and Meatballs in any sort of summer camp movie. And like any one of those movies would serve your time better than watching this movie.
Absolutely. And I think to add on to that, I definitely think it's okay if people are thinking of other related things while they're watching your movie in comparing them because they're so good. Like how could you not, when you're watching like Nosferatu, think about the Werner Herzog movie?
Yeah.
You couldn't not, but they're both amazing.
Yeah. So you can homage and pay tribute to your influences, but you don't want someone to think, I'd rather be watching this other
Dude,
thing.
I would have so rather have watched Halloween again.
Yeah.
I've only seen it the once.
Yeah. So there's that. And then the performances are amateurish. Not all of them, but mostly it's very amateur level performances. And that's it. That's what I got for what didn't work for me.
So, do you want to go with your rating, final thoughts, or you want me to do that first?
Oh, you've been going first. Let's get yours. Yeah.
So I was on the 3 train until the last 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to call this a 2-star movie. And that's generous. I literally was booing at the end verbally with my thumb down.
Yeah.
I was booing at my TV at the end of this movie.
Channeling Roger Ebert.
Yeah, I literally was booing at my TV. It's a 2-star because it spawned something special, I guess. People love it. It's not for me, I don't think. But it adequately mission accomplished. Halloween+Meatballs.
Yeah.
With homages to Psycho, you did it. It wasn't very good.
No.
I won't watch it again, and I wouldn't recommend it to other people. The only people I would recommend it to is like if you want to watch slasher movies, but you like you're really into like schlocky things, or if the pitch of Halloween+Meatballs really appeals to you, if you're like,
Those are my
two favorite movies.
I was thinking so much
because I don't like that whole 80s genre of meatball, or 70s and 80s genre of the meatball style movies. I don't like any of them.
Right.
I guess maybe Revenge of the Nerds I liked, which is sort of in there.
But don't go back to that.
But no, I liked it in the 80s when I was a kid, and I liked Poindexter, and the keyboards. Anyway, it's crap. And I have justification. I won't go into the ratings until after you give yours.
Okay.
But this thing was not nominated for just one, but 2 Razzie Awards.
The Razzies existed in 1980s?
The 1981 Razzies, because for the previous year. All right, so what about you?
So, I'm with you, basically. It ultimately, after I prayed on it and sat with this for a while.
Prayed on it like Mrs. Voorhees praying on campers.
On campers, yeah. And it has a certain crude charm to it, and it's got some fun kills, and it has an important place in the canon of slasher films and horror films, and I feel like it just sort of squeaks away with a 3. And it is it's the lowest 3 imaginable. Like it is it's a 2.75. It is significant for its place in the canon, and if you are a student of slasher movies, I'm sure they get worse than this.
Oh God, yes. They have to get worse than this.
Yeah, and for the lore, it's important for if you want to go and plow. If we ever want to get to Jason Takes Manhattan, or Jason Goes to Space, or Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah. I'm okay, so I'll put this out there into the universe now.
Yeah.
If they ever make a Predator versus Jason, I'll watch everything to get to that.
Get to Predator versus Jason. Yeah. So to me, it squeaks away with a 3 with a million caveats.
Okay.
The most qualified 3.
Okay. So yeah, it got a Metacritic has it for a 22%. At the time, it got multiple movie critics, like well-known people and whatnot, gave it 1 star.
Yeah.
Obviously, Siskel and Ebert's 2 thumbs down.
It's a retroactive 3.
But the rose tinted goggles. Rotten Tomato gives it a 67, and IMDb gives it a 6.4. So at the time, it got crap reviews, and then there have been people who have found charm in its nostalgia and all of that in later days. It's found its audience. I'm not that audience.
Yeah.
It was a waste of 90 minutes. But it's not the worst movie we've watched.
I think it is.
No.
I kind of felt that way. Like I felt like this was one of.
If I had to choose to watch one movie again, and I had to the worst movie we've watched that we've done, and I really don't want to have to watch it again, Fire Walk with Me.
Oh, but see, I think that is actually a good movie that's hard to watch.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to watch it.
Yeah.
I would rather watch this again.
I suspect in my life I will see Fire Walk with Me more than I will ever watch this movie.
Oh, man. I'll never watch either of them again. I'll just get up and leave.
That's probably true.
That's just my MO.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I think Firewalk would be a much better movie than this.
It's better made. It's made by an artist who was trying to disturb you.
Yeah.
This was made by a money grubber that was trying to get your money. And he did.
He did. I gave him $3.99.
I mean, both people got exactly what they wanted. One disturbed you, one got your money. Yeah, I paid $3.99 to watch this as well.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
We could have watched it on Tubi with the ads, but...
Dang. Yeah, I looked at that. And then there was Play-Doh or...
That's another ad.
Pluto, that's it.
Another ad supported.
Yeah.
I don't like ads. $3.99 to just get down to it.
Yeah, it's worth the time to do that.
All right, let's roll the music and come back to the Vault of Darkness. Before we delve into the Vault of Darkness, we ask that all initiates of the cult follow us on your favorite social media platforms at Nightshade Cult.
If you've enjoyed this content, help us grow the cult by sharing it with like-minded people and leave us a review wherever you listen.
Before we pull out of the vault, do you have any dark tidings?
Yeah, a little bit. A new album came out that I thought that the Cultists might like.
Okay.
This is Silver Shade by Peter Murphy.
Ooh.
New solo album by the man himself, and I've listened to it a few times, and I don't know, it's good, but it very much is evoking it's like different songs evoke different vibes and different things. It doesn't have a strong, cohesive feel.
Okay.
I was listening to this one song, and it just felt like it was almost like David Bowie worship, which they're contemporaries.
That's always been his thing, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, I felt like it was good and definitely worth checking out. It might really scratch the itch. To me, Peter Murphy's solo work is hit or miss. Some of the songs are just bangers, and then other ones are just pass. So I liked it. I thought it was worth checking out, and if you like Peter Murphy, I think you should check him out.
Okay.
What about you? You got anything?
Yeah, I've stepped away from doing so many obituaries, but this one I thought was significant because it's a movie that we started the podcast with. Greg Canham, the makeup artist and prosthetics specialist, passed away at age 73. And so everyone's talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is kind of one of his most famous
That was
movies.
Amazing work.
Yeah, it's there. You've got Old Man Dracula. You've got the Bat Dracula.
I love the
Wolf
Bat.
Dracula. Just super iconic makeup jobs. Besides Dracula, he's got Mrs. Doubtfire, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. He made Christian Bale into Dick Cheney for Vice.
Yeah,
he's done some just amazing makeup jobs over the years. He's someone I think that came up under Rick Baker, and became the equal of his master. You know what I mean? And I think he was still fairly active. So this is a loss, both to cinema history and to the industry. Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer, but he had a great life. So
yeah, and hell of an IMDb to look back on.
Yeah.
What are you pulling out of the Vault of Darkness?
All right, so this is totally unrelated to our topic today, but it's what I've been doing lately. I posted a few times online about it. I've started a new book series that I never thought I would like because the name of the book series is stupid. And I looked at the covers, and I thought the covers were, I don't know, cartoony and lame, and I thought I wouldn't like it. It's a series called Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yeah. Didn't you mention this last week? Or last episode?
No, it's not in my notes. Did I mention it last week?
Maybe we just talked about it off.
Yeah,
off
maybe
mic, yeah.
maybe we did. But this is a really great series about a guy where the world is destroyed, and he's put on a game show, and it's extremely funny. It's extremely endearing. The character's really identifiable, and I recommend that you check it out. It's a lit RPG.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you explain what that is?
So, Basically obviously literature.
Yeah.
It's a book about playing a game. Okay. So there's stats in it. He's like, oh my God, I found a legendary item. It's a this and this and this, and it's like a game. So it's crazy that it's like, you have to have gamer knowledge to truly appreciate it, but not a lot.
Okay.
It's like the books bring you into his gaming world and kind of ease you into it.
Yeah.
And so let me back up. Basically, the idea is this starts off in the real world. There's this dude. He's a former Coast Guardsman. He's kind of had a fight with his girlfriend. She's abandoned her cat with him.
Yeah.
Who's like a fancy show cat. And that's when the alien invasion happens.
Okay.
They destroy the world, basically kill, 98% of the population, and then the other 2% immediately go on to a game show.
Okay.
Where it's kind of like Running Man, it's kind of like Hunger Games, but they're in a dungeon, and it has like 18 levels, and each level is crazy complicated. It's like a whole new gaming world, and if you don't find an exit to the level in the time limit to get to the next level down, the dungeon level collapses and everyone dies. And so the population keeps going down and down and down. It started with millions of people, and I'm on book 4. They're currently in like the 5th level, and it's like they're down to like 200,000 people of all humans forever.
And are they like D&D dungeons? Because like when I went to his website, just Matt Dinneman's website, like the first image is like a big D&D goblin.
Yeah, so the first level, the first dungeon is very D&D-ish. There's goblins, there's hobgoblins, there's oozes, there's mimics, there's all kinds of crazy things. But it gets more and more sci-fi as you go, and in the first book and part of the second book, it's really kind of about Carl surviving in the game and figuring out how to play the game. And early on, since he was one of the first people you get achievements, just like in video games. He's one of the first people to bring a pet into the dungeon or whatever. So he got a platinum pet box or something, and he opened it, and it had like a legendary pet biscuit, and he gave it to the cat, whose name was Princess Donut.
Yeah.
And she immediately gained sentience and intelligence and stats, and she became a character, no longer a pet thing attached to Carl. She is now a party member. Okay. And so she's a full-on, well-developed and interesting, thought-provoking character.
Is she still a cat, or is she a cat person? Like a Khajiit?
No, so she's a cat, and you stay exactly what you are until the 3rd level of the dungeon, where you get to do race and class selection. You don't have a race or a class until then, and it's kind of like D&D, except for there's literally millions of races and classes. Anything you can think of that could possibly be a race or a cat, there's them. There's there's someone who's like an ice fairy. There's someone who's like a magma guy. There are like dog people. There's someone who becomes like a grim reaper type thing. And Princess Donut, being a cat, she refuses to consider anything other than cat because she's perfect as she is.
Fair.
And of course, cats do have their own in the game racial advantages and stuff. So it's not like a terrible selection, but it doesn't matter. She chooses it anyway. She won't listen to Carl about at least read the other ones. And then they have to select classes and stuff. And the class selection is hilarious because there's like almost anything you can think of. Like Carl ends up, after contemplating tons and tons of classes, he chooses compensated anarchist, which is like literally a paid protester guy, a paid saboteur. So he gets like abilities with bombs and stuff. And Donut chooses former child actor. Which is amazing. It's like a bard spellcasting class, but they get to, every level, they get to take on abilities from another class that they're acting as, portraying. Anyway, it gets deep, but as you get further into the series, it stops being as much about the dungeons, but there's still dungeon plots.
Yeah.
But more about like the meta politics of the company that's running the game, their game guides, the NPCs who are living people, not just constructs. And it becomes a really interesting kind of social political commentary. It's super cool and way cooler than the name Dungeon Crawler Carl would suggest. But it's also really funny. So now, there you go.
Most people, that name is an easy selling point, and you hold it as a market.
Yeah, I think it sounds lame. But I have delved into the Dungeon Crawler Carl subreddit a fair bit, and Matt Dinneman will like respond there and stuff. Yeah. He's a really nice and cool dude. Yeah. Like, he is chill. He's from Seattle. Carl is from Seattle. And so there's like Princess Donut. She's called the Chonk of Queen Anne as a title, because she's a fat cat who lived from Queen Anne. Yeah, it's got tons of Pacific Northwest references. Okay. So I don't know. Yeah, it's really fun.
You've powered through these, because I feel like
I can do one of these.
2 weeks ago you were like
just starting
on the first one, and now you're 4 deep into it.
Yeah, it takes me about 3 or 4 days, and I can just go through one. But they're getting longer and longer. Like, each one is longer than the last, and there's 7 books total. There'll be an 8th one coming out. He's a pretty prolific writer, like a new book every year. So that'll be good. Cool. Anyway, what about you? What are you pulling out of the vault?
I'm going a little outside of the scope, because I just didn't. If you want another slasher movie, we've covered several slasher adjacent movies.
Just watch Halloween,
Terminator 1, Terminator, Alien, American Psycho, The Predator. Like, there's a million movies you can watch. Watch all of them; they're all good. But I saw Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds last weekend.
Oh, wow!
And I have been revisiting last year's album, Wild God, which is the album that they're touring on. And I maybe gave it like one listen when it came out last year, and then never got back around to it. And then as the tour date was fast approaching, I was like, oh shoot, I should probably get familiar with the songs that they're going to be playing. And the album's really good. That's not a surprise. This is like the 18th album by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I would venture to say most of them are really good. But this is just a really strong one, and it is entering into a new phase, like a sort of post-grief phase for Nick Cave. I believe in 2015, his teenage son passed away unexpectedly and tragically, and that loss really fueled the next couple albums that came after that, and they were very raw and grief-stricken. And those tours in support of them were similarly somber and like emotionally wrecking affairs. And not that you ever get over grief, but you process it and move through. And he's moved into a new, more celebratory post-grief phase. And this album is dealing with that. And so it's a more optimistic, I guess you'd say. It's still Nick Cave, so it's still goth and spooky and dealing with heavy subjects, but it is more uplifting. I guess that's the word I'm scratching for. It is a more uplifting and hopeful album than like the last few, which have been quite sad. And it was really good. And if he's leaving our area now, but if you're somewhere else in the country while he's touring and you can go see them, I'd say go see Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, because it's a great concert. And at the very least, you can listen to last year's album, Wild God.
We'd like to thank you for joining the Nightshade Cult.
Until we meet again, we're wishing you unpleasant dreams.